8 hours.
Hello, everyone. I'm Paul, and welcome to your Legion. Today, I have Ed Crisler from Sapphire, and the reason why we're here is because we're actually going to take a look at the Sapphire Fury, which is the Tri-X version of the Fury, and Sapphire has made some great changes to this card. Of course, if you guys remember, I mentioned in the past that manufacturers or partners have to deal with the hand that they are dealt with. And when you're looking at it in that aspect, Sapphire has done a great job with the hand that they were dealt with. Number one, I feel that these cards do run very hot. Sapphire has calmed the Savage Beast when it comes down to the cooling with their new cooling system. This Tri-X cooler has a shroud that actually connects to the PCB and the plate itself, which is very easy to remove, so you can clean it, etc. It's got the dual ball bearing fans, which make it more efficient. You also have a back plate, and I know a lot of you guys are looking for back plates all the time. This is actually an aluminum back plate. It does dissipate some heat, but it's also to make the board more rigid, so you don't get those cracks in the PCB due to stress, etc. But there's something very, very interesting about this. Of course, we got set. Let me go and look and show you. We've got 7 heat pipes back there. They range from 8 millimeters all the way down to 6. So that's another.
Sorry, that's 10 down to 6.
10. That's correct. I'm sorry, Ed. 10 millimeters down to 6. You got, what is it? The 110 millimeter. You have the 2 8 millimeters, and then it's the four 6 millimeters.
Right.
Most of them do run straight through, which is going to give you that nice, if you remember what I talked about on another heat sink, you're going to get the quickest point between two lines is a straight line, or the quickest way between 2 points is a straight line. So you're actually going to get that straight line cooling coming across everything. Now, there's a little bit of a trick with this card because of the HBM memory. The HBM memory actually runs a little bit higher than the GPU itself. Sapphire made an addition to this heatsink to actually get it to the heatsink to touch and make contact with the GPU, because you have to remember, if you cannot touch that GPU, you're not going to get good heat transference. So let's go ahead, and Ed, why don't you take over? But before we do that, let me just show these guys something. I got this shirt. I got this shirt in the box. And I thought it was a Sapphire shirt, and it kind of looked like the Sapphire guy, but Ed just told me that I have no clue what that shirt is. So.
I don't know what the hell that is. And Paul, I got a complaint. I was brought here under false pretenses. You told me there was going to be pie.
Oh, well, I could get that for you. I could definitely get that for you if you want. But hey, listen, I do have a glass of wine, so cheers.
Man, no pie. Oh, my God. Okay. So I don't know where you want to start talking about this at. I mean, I'm proud as hell of this card. This card's a little beast. Well, not a little beast, but it's a beast.
Well, I will say this much. Let's look at it this way. And I mentioned this in the review. I've heard manufacturers make claims about what their cards could do or what their cooling systems could do multiple times. And as a reviewer, I want to prove you guys wrong. I mean, plain and simple, I am going to take that card, I'm going to put it through the rigors, and I'm going to do whatever I can to try to prove you wrong. I could not prove you wrong, Ed, or Sapphire wrong. And I'll just go ahead and bring up this scene real quick. Nope, not that one. It must be number 9. All right. You make a claim, or Sapphire makes a claim, that under load while gaming, and of course this is not overclocked, but under load while gaming, the card will not go above 75 degrees Celsius. It will run at a fan speed of 20%. Now,
give or take a few percent, yeah.
I mean, I didn't believe you, in all honesty, but I did run it. And I will tell you this much. the card did not break 20%. I mean, at least on the software that I was using, it stayed at 20% pegged. It was 75. I did get it up to 77 with an overclock, but of course, that's with an overclock. It did go up to 77, but that's not the problem because your claim was 20% fan speed with 75 degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius. And that did work. Now the other thing that if you look at that graph, you could see, of course, I'm not going to tell anybody to play at 100% fan speed.
Oh God, no, it's awful.
But I actually got the fan to the actual chip to cool to 46 degrees Celsius. Now my idle temps with my air conditioner on were between 38 and 42. Average, say 38. So I got this in Florida with the air on, with all the humidity and everything, down to 46 Celsius at 100%. Now it's 75%, which is fairly. It's still a little bit loud, but it's a lot more it's a lot more ear appealing. We were at 48%, and then at 50%, which is basically silent. And I will have to say that basically silent at 56. I haven't yet to see a manufacturer do this with an AMD card. And, I could honestly say you guys did a very good job. So let's go ahead and why don't you tell the people how you guys did it?
Well, we're proud as hell of this cooler. You know me, I've been a reviewer for forever. So I take everything our engineering team says to us with a great deal of skepticism. I'm constantly telling me, until you send me the card and prove it, I won't say it. And they did with this. They told me this was the single most efficient cooler they've ever designed. And when I got it, the initial testing was amazing to me. The fan settings that you can play with this. Okay, so we set a goal of 75 degrees centigrade under typical gaming load with near silent operation. That was our goal. We achieved that. But what is really neat is when you start playing with the fan profile, and you can do this just within Catalyst. So you go into Catalyst and you change the target temperature, and you can lower it. For example, I run my Fury in my gaming rig, which I just actually started gaming with one a couple of days ago, and I'm seriously in love. I'm going to have to do a guys cuddling with video cards with this card because I really want to cuddle this card. I took my target temp is set down to 65C. And I don't care what the temp is in my room, it hovers right around 65C. And it's dead silent. You can't hear this thing. It makes no noise, and it just pumps out performance. So we gave this fan a ridiculous amount of headroom. When we sat down to design this, AMD gave the partners a choice. Well, actually, we can do both. You can design a custom PCB, you can design a custom cooler, go to town with this. Most of the other partners went with a custom PCB design. And when you look at their PCB, I'm looking at it going, why did you bother? I've never seen empty PCBs like this before, because this chip doesn't need a lot of motherboard space. It doesn't need space to do everything. So we said, forget that. We want to perfect the cooler. And I really think we did. I am ridiculously impressed with the performance this cooler brings to bear. I'm excited to see what Nano does. Because if we can get this already, now remember, we went super efficient with this, but look at how much headroom we've got left in this cooler. Imagine if we can shrink this cooler down and keep the efficiency. Now, obviously, we're going to gain some temperature. Realistically, we could still keep around 60 to 70 C on a dual or single fan solution, I would think, with proper use of the design we've created. Well, I'm excited. I can't wait to see them.
Well, I will say this much, and let me show people the back of this card real quick. If you notice, it's actually a full-size card. I mean, you can see that the PCB is a lot shorter on these the newer AMD editions, but we also have this extension, which is basically almost the width of the 90 millimeter fan here. And the reason why Sapphire did this is, usually when you have a fan that comes over your PCB, you're creating a little bit of turbulence. So you're not getting as good as the heat reduction through the fins as you would if you had no resistance. Now, if you look through the back here, the only resistance you really have through those fins and through those heat pipes are basically the fins itself and the very small pieces of the mounting plate on the back of it. So with the reduced with your reduced turbulence resistance or turbulence, whatever you want to call it, you're actually cooling it a little bit better on this end. So now when that heat does come back through the vapor chamber towards this way, it's getting cooled a little bit better. So when it does transfer back across and it goes across the actual GPU under here, you're actually getting cooler vapor than you would if you were creating all that turbulence. So the other thing, Ed, is HBM memory. Of course, we know it's stacked memory, and that stacked memory actually sits. It's on the die, and it actually sits higher than the GPU. And I'm going to say this. I'm not going to mention the manufacturer because I question them, because evidently they have a gap between their heatsink and the actual GPU. And what they told me was what they told me when I asked them was, it doesn't matter because you're still going to get heat transference. You don't need that direct touch because that's all. As long as you have a vapor barrier, you're still going to get that heat transference. Now,
well, first, they shouldn't have a vapor barrier. They've probably got a thermal compound barrier. Yet, in fairness, they're technically correct, but they're not going to get as efficient of heat transfer. And that's the key at the end of the day. Like I said, we set out, we want to be the coolest and the quietest. We've achieved what we set out to do. We achieved our goals. We had to redesign the plate. In fact, this is one of the few times we always tell people, don't disassemble your cooler. And we tell them that because it's a matter of warranty issue. It's a matter of we can't tell if you're somebody that knows what you're doing or not. But with this card, it's even more about don't disassemble your cooler. The placement of that heat plate has to be perfect because of that weird stack setup in the geometry there. And we had to do something else, which is a little different. Okay, so and I know you got a lot of enthusiasts that listen to the site, guys that just like to open stuff up because it's cool to open it up. They're going to open this up, and they're going to. I know a lot of guys that do this. The first thing they do is they buy a new card, they open it up, and they change the thermal compound.
Right.
And when they open this up, they're going to quickly change this thermal compound. And they're going to look at it, they're going to go, oh my God, what is this? We had to use a very viscous thermal compound for this. You have some very specific pressure points that are existing with the way this has to place. And you have to make sure you fill these pressure points correctly to get maximum cooling. So we had to use a very thick, very viscous thermal compound. It's not the most efficient compound. There are better thermal compounds. But this compound is designed to not only provide that perfect pressure that we were looking for, it doesn't break down in the long haul. So you go to a better thermal compound, like you go to an Arctic Silver or you go to an Antec Diamond, you go to a really good thermal compound, and you put it on there, you might actually get better numbers. But 3 to 4 months later, you might have to open it up and do it again because that compound won't hold up with the exact pressure locations. And it just becomes a mess. You're better off. We designed this cooler to be exactly what it is. If you're going to replace the cooler with water cooling, I get it. Personally, I don't know why you would buy this card if you're going to replace it with water cooling. I mean, the whole reason to buy this card is to get the extra cooling potential. But don't take this apart. We spent a lot of time getting this just right for the cooling approach. Even the backplate, you commented on the backplate. I checked this. They told me this backplate is double the thickness of most aluminum backplates. We're actually thicker than most aluminum backplates. And we commented during the Nitro launch that we didn't do backplates because they weren't needed to stiffen the PCB. And in this case, it's still not needed to stiffen the PCB. The design of this PCB has moved heat-creating components to the back. This is something you don't see with most of the 300 series. We had to put a heat sink on the back of it. So that's actually designed to be a thermal transfer point. You touch it during use, it's warm. It's putting off heat. It's actually doing its job. Like I said, every target we hit with this, we achieved exactly where we wanted to go. Quiet operation, near silent, amazing cooling, tons of extra headroom for the cooler for people to play with. If they want it cooler and maybe want to give up a little bit of noise, they can do that. If they want it ridiculously cool and have it sound like a 747 on approach, they can do that. We gave them all these options with the cooling. And then the Fury, the Fury card is a beast for gaming. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I did all the initial benchmarking and stuff when I got the card. Okay, but I never put it in a gaming rig until a couple of days ago. And I stuck it in my gaming rig. Oh my God. I love gaming on this card. This card's amazing. I'm throwing around games at 70 and 80 frames per second at 1440. So I'm excited. This is a great card for the money. And you know me, this is not a normal card I would want to have in my system. I normally like stuff like the 390. I like the value-oriented cards. Man, this thing is never coming out of my system. They'll have to show up with shotguns to get this removed.
Well, I will tell you this much, Ed. As per performance, and I'm going to mention this, and this is another thing that I tested it on. Of course, it's not in the benchmarks, and I wrote it in the review and really basically said why I didn't put it in the benchmarks. But I do want to mention to everybody, if you're not going to game at least in a minimum of 1440 on this, or an ultra wide screen, or 4K, it makes no sense to purchase this card. And I'll tell you the reason why, Ed. What I saw with the card, if you compare it to a 980 Ti at 1080p, they were just about neck and neck. They were swapping benchmarks back and forth. It was going back and forth with it. Go up to 1440, then you started seeing an advantage to the Fury. At 4K, the Fury did have the advantage, and it did actually perform in between what a 980 and a 980 Ti actually performs at. So I could see where this card has the gimme for the higher resolutions. But for those people who are just going to buy it for the sake of saying, well, I've got a Fury because I like AMD, and they're going to play it in 1080, I don't see any sense of them really wasting the $665 or $599.
No, this card's $549 or something like that.
Was it $549? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's $649 for the Fury X.
Okay, that's right. My bad. So I just go ahead.
I agree with you. If you're playing at 1080p, first, the two cards for 1080, a 380 is a 1080 beast. It's designed to run 1080. I don't care what AMD says about it being designed for 1440. Okay, AMD, I'm sorry. I may work for a company that sells an AMD-based product, but I don't smoke what they're selling all the time. And this card wasn't designed for 1440. The 380 is designed for 1080p. It rocks the house at 1080p. Most games, you're going to be able to run at a high detail level and hit that 60 frame per second sweet spot. Now, if you want to push up, if you're going to run a 144 hertz monitor, the 390 is the place you want to go. The 390 is still at a reasonable price point, and it'll crank out 1080 at high detail all day long at around 100 frames per second. Anything past that, you're spending money to basically compensate, I guess. You're compensating for something. I guess it's better to buy a Ferrari, okay? So anyway, it's cheaper than buying a Ferrari, and your wife doesn't have to worry about you trying to pick up chicks with it. So anyway, anything above a 390 at 1080p makes no sense. It just doesn't make any sense. I was telling Huddy, now this isn't how it works. There's a bunch of technical reasons for this. To me, it's like the Fury is bored at 1080p. It's like the genius of the class who's sitting in remedial math going, well, shit, I don't really have to work to do anything here. Leave me alone. I think a better technical analogy is the Intel Extreme processors. Intel Extreme processors, unless you can really make use of their memory bandwidth with quad channel, or you can really make use of the heavy multitasking that the higher core counts get, the Extreme processors are actually not any faster and often slower than the straight i7s. But once you start filling their pipeline, once you start letting them stretch their legs, they become just brutes. And the more you let them stretch their legs, the more powerful they begin to become. And we see the same thing with the Fury. 1080, it's bored. It's the genius sitting in class twiddling his thumbs because he already knows that 2 + 2 = 4. And he's waiting for a real problem to hit. 1440, it's beginning to get pushed. And 4K, we're really starting to push where it can go. But even then, you and I have discussed this, we're pushing the core. The HBM hasn't been pushed all the way yet. We haven't seen this really get to stretch its legs yet. Huddy and I had a long discussion about this at PDX Land. We actually talked about this on stage as well. There is no current core on anybody's platform that can push HBM1 as far as it can go. It just doesn't exist yet. Nothing exists. This is round one. This is what you have to do. You have to make an initial card. You have to make an initial product to begin to work through all the problems that come with the manufacturing of this new platform. AMD has been spending the time doing this. That's the advantage I think they're going to have coming into round two of this. I'm really excited to see cards next year when we start to see a core that was specifically designed for HBM from the ground up. I think that's when you're going to start to see something exciting. The other exciting thing is, let's be clear, HBM isn't the future of AMD. HBM is the future of all video cards on both sides of the fence. This is an exciting product. I like where it's going to be taking things.
Well, I mean, I went to the extremes on this. I tested it. I wanted to see what the bottleneck was going to be. And I'll be honest with you. It is the truth. It's the truth, Ed. I mean, personally, the way I feel is, yes, it was nice to put the HBM on it, but they really should have done something with the core to at least show us that they were moving in the right direction. Yes, you put HBM on it and you say that you got rid of the memory bottleneck, but you created another bottleneck here. You don't have enough texture units, you don't have enough ROP units to actually let it flex its muscle. And that showed when I started doing my memory testing on Grand Theft Auto 5. When I cranked everything up and I unchecked the memory setting there to ignore the memory settings, it really did tank. And the reason why it tanked is because I guess still till today, games don't know how to handle the HBM. But the cores themselves, the actual GPU core, was creating a bottleneck, and that's what caused it to tank at that. And I actually went into the single digits. I mean, it averaged about 10, but we're looking, I was in single digits at 4K with it. And I'm not blaming the HBM. I'm not, but I'm blaming the core, and I'm blaming the fact that I think maybe AMD kind of rushed it a little bit too much. I would have rather seen them go with the core, even if they had to wait till HBM2 came out. Go with a core that's going to be able to take care of this. Let the game developers play. We got DirectX 12 coming out now. That is out. We've got a lot of stuff. Let the game developers play with it. let them learn how the HBM actually works, because technically the way I feel is 4 gigs of HBM should be able to keep up with 8 to 12 gigs of DDR5 because of the bandwidth.
And you're right, by the nature of the way it's designed. I'm not going to disagree with what you're saying. I mean, if they'd have waited a little bit, you're right. We would have seen a much more powerful product. But you're also to the point that you can't wait. We're due a new cycle. Additionally, there has been a lot of money put into this. You got to understand, AMD's been researching HBM for what, 7 years now?
Right.
There's a lot of R&D put into this. It's time that a product had to come to market. And you want to bring a product to market earlier. You're using a core. You're using the basis of the core with a technology that's already proven and tested. So you tie that with an untested memory solution. That gives you a stable platform to build from as you go forward. This card is as much about proving the technology works as about providing a great card. And the good news is they achieved exactly, I believe, what they targeted. I believe, forget the hype for a minute. In my opinion, I think Fury's a better product than Fury X, between me and you and the millions of people watching the show. I think Fury's a better product because it didn't have the hype behind it. It came out kind of quiet. It came out kind of lackluster. And it got to be judged completely on its merits, not on anything that was being hyped out. And when you judge it on its merits, the Fury is a brute card for the money. It really is. So I get where you're coming from. I understand that we can bottleneck this. We can bottleneck anything if we spend enough time throwing settings up high enough. When you stay within play settings that most 99.999% of gamers will use, it's impossible to bottleneck this with the HBM. You can't. The HBM's just got such a ridiculous amount of bandwidth, it's impossible to do it. As for the 4 gig versus 8 gig, it's really interesting. Now, the explanation I got was very simplistic, but I think it's reasonably accurate. Most games do not actually use as much video memory as they say they use. The reason for that is texture compression and a number of other factors come into play. The extra memory, the amount of memory it's using, is actually a lot of it is caching data. And the reason it's caching data is that bandwidth, that ability to move between the memory and the chip and back, is very limited. And we've had to increase clock speed. Well, after a while, you can only, I mean, let's face it, you take a highway, I can increase the speed limit and just keep increasing the speed limit, but I'm never going to move as many cars down it if I just add more lanes. And that's what HBM has done. And because of that, it doesn't have to cache as much data. And the result is it doesn't need as much memory to achieve nearly the same thing. And we see that as you move up to higher resolutions, the performance doesn't decrease, it increases. It gets better and better as we begin to, as you said, make use of HBM. But then we hit that limitation, that point where the current GPU technology is not 100% ready to crank loose on what HBM is capable of doing. Like I said, this is round one. This is, let's see what it can do. And what we've seen is an amazing video card at a really good price point. It's allowing a much smaller form factor build than anyone thought was possible. We are, especially with the horsepower you're talking about, really, I mean, think about how small the card is with the amount of horsepower this thing brings to bear. It's an exciting product.
It's not a bad product. I'm not going to put it down on that aspect. Personally, I think it performs well. It fits in between two different cards. There are a couple things that I could get into to kind of, in a sense, say, well, you know, we could look at the overclocking headroom. There's really not much overclocking headroom for
that
this
might
card.
be changing.
Okay.
That might be changing. I think I think you got a couple of things you're going to have to see happen. First, even though it's a good base technology on the core, you know as well as I do that that's something that will mature. The core production will mature over time. So we might begin to see a little more headroom that way. Also, current cards are voltage locked. And I think if that opens up a little bit, we could begin to see some increase in the overclockability. It's not temperature. I mean, you've seen that with our card. It's not temperature that's the limit right now. HBM, I know itself, there are difficulties with overclocking it. But quite frankly, overclocking it doesn't help it all that much because nothing uses the bandwidth as it exists right now. So adding extra speed isn't going to really make any difference. I want to wait and see. I agree with you. Currently, the overclockability of this card is not all that great. Our particular card, the best overclock we've seen to date has been 1140, so about 100 megahertz. But again, you're back to, gosh, it performs so well without it. Really? Does it matter?
Well, no, I mean, I see where you're coming from with that, Ed. But the whole thing is, though, and I didn't do this for this review. This is not what this review was about. I wanted to test your card. I wanted to test the cooling. Right. I wanted to see what Sapphire did. But one thing that I could say is, I mean, the GeForce cards do overclock very well. And I'm going to look at it as, if I really did crank out that GeForce card and overclock it, could it catch up to this card for a $60 less price tag? That's what we got to kind of. Yes, I do understand that when you overclock a card, you're shortening the lifespan. Don't get me wrong, but for a $60 less price tag, will a 980 compete with it with an overclock? Because you could overclock the hell out of them.
That's true, but at that $60 less price tag, are you also as cool and quiet with the overclock?
I would probably say not as, and I'll agree with you there. I'll give you that one. I mean,
we'll even push another site's review for just a moment. Forgive me. Look at a non-tech. He made a comment, and I love Ryan. Ryan's a great guy, and I love Ryan because he's so technical in the way he writes. And he found that 980 cards at idle were louder than the Fury at load on our card.
Yeah, but was he using an aftermarket card or was he using the stock card? That's the whole.
No, he wasn't. He was using a stock card, but the minute you add the aftermarket card, Paul, that price difference falls from $60 to maybe $20.
Depending on the manufacturer, I'll give you that.
So the price difference is not as... There's a difference in price. Let's not argue that. There's a difference in price. I 100% agree with you. The Fury hits a point right between both cards. At 1080p and at 1440, it pushes... It's dead in the middle with it leaning a little bit back to the 980. At 4K, it begins to lean toward the tie. It's an interesting place to be. And remember, we're an initial launch. You are the viewers. We all know what happens over the next coming month or two. The prices will begin to fall. As production ramps up, as more cards get into the stream, prices will begin to fall. That gap starts to close. If that gap closes much, I think the decision becomes a lot easier.
No, I agree with you. All right, let's just go real quick. I'm just going to go over these, and because I know some people want to see some benchmarks on what I got. And this one is for my buddy Andreas de Groot, who told me, why didn't you benchmark the 300 series and the Fury against these gigabyte cards and these 980s and these 980 Ti's? And basically my answer was I didn't have them, and when I do, I will. And now I have them. So Andreas, here is your answer, my friend. So let's go ahead and just take a quick look here. This is 3D Mark Fire Strike Ultra. As you can see, the old 290X was pretty much on the bottom there when you're looking at performance. Then we could go up to the 390, which is an 8 gigabyte card that I actually got from XFX. And I will tell you guys this much: I do have that review coming up, and It's not a bad card. It's got 8 gigs, but the cooling is nowhere near what Sapphire is, and I will reflect that in the review because I was a little upset with the way that it heated up with their Ghost cooling system on it. But when we take a look at the Fury, okay, just as our total score, we got 3724, and that's at 4K. And if we look at the 980, we got 3285, and of course the 980 Ti, it's the bad boy on the market right now.
It is.
So I didn't expect it to beat the Ti, but I wanted to see where it came from. So we'll go to our next set of benchmarks, and that's of course Unigen. And when we look at Unigen, again, the Fury right between the 980 and the 980 Ti. It's keeping up. It's actually playing very well. It's doing what it's supposed to. You could see even with the 390 now that there is a little bit better performance since they've actually the core has matured a little bit. So we're getting better numbers between that and the 290. But the Fury, again, it's right between right where Sapphire says it's supposed to be. I've seen some AMD benchmarks, Ed, and I'm sorry to say it, they were saying that the Fury beat the Ti, and I'm not even the Fury X, but the Fury beat the Ti, and I just was like, okay. Then we'll go to our next set of benchmarks. Of course, now we're getting into our gaming stuff. And yes, everybody, I do like the Batman series, and I do benchmark the Batman series. I like playing that game. And there's Batman Arkham Knight. And, you could see where it's kind of close to the 980. Don't get me wrong. But you got to remember, it's an NVIDIA game. It was built for NVIDIA. Now, hey, all cars should perform the same way. I mean, optimized drivers, whatever. But in any case, it did keep up with the 980. So we got just about a tie there. Now, when you go into Battlefield, between that and the you're beating it by about a frame. And then you go to Assassin's Creed Unity, which is another NVIDIA sponsored game, but now you can see where the HBM starts to kick in a little bit.
Right.
We actually got 32.4 frames per second opposed to wait, hold it. Where's my that's the wrong one. 25.1 to 32.4. I think they're reversed, Ed. I might have made a mistake on that. So I'm going to give you that one there. That was my bad. Yes, that's actually a reverse benchmark, everyone. It actually was the 32.4 for the Fury on that, and 25.1 for the 980.
That will be fixed on the website tonight, right?
Yes, that will be fixed on the website tonight. I'm sorry about that, everyone.
No, don't worry about it. Paul, you're always fair with me. I ain't worried about it. Don't worry about it.
Well, and you could basically see it because right now, if you look up at the graph, you can see that the 390X actually got better frame rates than the Fury, and it's just not possible. So even with the 8 gigs of RAM, it's just not possible.
Right.
But I'm going to go ahead and actually
make a note.
Here's my book. I write. A lot of people take screenshots of their stuff. I don't take screenshots. I write my stuff down. I do what I need to do.
Okay, make sure you write down that I still need pi. Yes,
I will definitely do that. But that is correct, and I'm sorry to say that. But yeah, we saw the HBM actually kind of kick in with Assassin's Creed Unity. Now let's go to scene 5 here, where we're actually looking at Metro Last Light, Grand Theft Auto, and Thief. We got the 980, the 980. We're getting about 4 to 5 frames, 4 to 5 frames difference between the Fury and the 980. Now the 980 by Gigabyte here is actually one of the higher clocked cards. So this actually has I think the core goes up to almost 1300 on the boost. So
wow.
Yeah, it's got a pretty high boost on it. So when we're looking, we're looking at, and the reason why I did it, I wanted to do 2 overclock cards, and I wanted to see where the muscle was going to be. But as you
Well,
can see,
you threw the best of the 980s at us. Good.
well, and that's what I expected to do. Uh, I wanted to see what was going to happen. But as you can see, everyone, the Sapphire Fury, it actually, it's beating it's beating in 4K. It's actually beating it's beating the 980. It's between the 980 and 980 tie. Now we got Crysis 3, Far Cry 4, and Tomb Raider. You'll notice again 3 to 4 frames difference between the both, and again the Fury actually. And I will say this much, Ed: the Fury is a lot quieter than the 980 from Gigabyte. They both the other reason why I did it is because it also has 3 fans on it, and I
Right.
wanted to kind of compare the temperatures that I was hitting. Yes, I'm going to say this. The Gigabyte was around 68 Celsius, but hold on. But the fan speed was up to 67%, where
Oh,
where yours at
was 20.
20%, correct. So there's the big difference. And
67%. You're starting to get noisy. I don't care whose fans you got.
exactly. So, we both have to, you have triple coolers. Let's see, that was scene 7. Let's go to scene 8. Now, this is on the overclock. I did everything I can. I mean, I raised the power target on at 10. I raised it 20.
Right.
No matter what I did, I was only able to get plus 60 on this. And I did flip the switch back and forth. Actually, this Fury has 2 switches. It's got a dual BIOS, one for overclocking and one for standard use. Basically, the standard use has 275 watts, where when you flip the switch for overclocking, give it an extra boost, you're adding another 100 watts there. That not too.
You're not actually adding 100 watts. Okay, this is a misunderstanding. There is a cap on how much wattage the chip is allowed to draw.
Okay.
And what we're doing is we're letting out more leash. We're raising the cap. Now, here's what's really neat, okay? Do you know that we are still above the necessary cap even at our base? The actual rated cap for this chip is like 220. So you can undervolt our cards. You can reduce that power profile by 10 to 15% and have no loss of stability.
Okay.
Which again helps it run a little cooler. So we gave a lot of wiggle room, a lot of play room. I know people want to overclock. I do. I get that. Sorry, we tried. There's only you're right. Sometimes you got to play with the hand you're dealt.
It's the truth.
And we hit every target we set. I believe at this price point, I don't. Well, first from a Fury perspective, I don't believe any partner's got a better Fury card. I'm willing to back that one up. I think we are the coolest and quietest Fury card. I think we're probably the coolest and quietest in perspective with any card currently at this performance level. And God, I love this card. I love playing on this card. I was going to say, there actually is, though. Remember we said at 1080p, there was no reason to buy this card. I'm about to change my position because I had a note pop up here when I was looking at some notes that reminded me of something. Virtual resolutions, virtual super resolutions, will allow you to run 4K gaming on a 1080p monitor. And if you go to lower filter settings, but run it 4K, you can actually achieve the same performance that you'd get at 1080p with everything cranked through the roof, but you can run it 4K and actually get a better looking image quality. So if you've got a 1080p monitor and you want to use this card, yeah, I guess if you're going to super resolution it up to 4K, and because think about it, 4K on a 24-inch screen, the pixel density is nuts. Okay, I know you're not actually generating 4K. I know at the end of the day you're only displaying 1080, but you've got such a fine detail level going when you downsample. I was amazed at the image quality difference. I didn't think it'd be that high.
Well, I mean, I haven't really played around with the VSR from AMD. I've used the one from NVIDIA, and basically, I mean, all you're doing is you're technically taking two images and overlaying them.
Right.
It's image mapping. Basically, kind of the same thing they do for 3D. I mean, you're taking the two and you're bringing yourself in overlap, and I mean, it's gonna decrease performance. And somebody mentioned that this is a friggin' Tech Syndicate shirt. What the hell are the people from Sapphire doing sending me a Tech Syndicate shirt, Ed?
I don't know. I don't know of anyone at Sapphire that would have a Tech Syndicate shirt. I know what happened. I'll bet you got the card that the guys at Tech Syndicate looked at.
Well, you know, I'm gonna have to do a Hulk Hogan and.
No, you're not. Tell Logan, thank you for the shirt.
I probably rock it better than he does. You know, I got the boots for it.
It's a cool looking shirt.
Oh shit! All right, I'm sorry about the legend there, Matt Locketization or. And hey, oh my God, Ernest Burnbury came in. It's about time, man. I'm sick and tired of, you know, getting your comments after the fact. Well, thanks for showing up, my friend.
What's this George R.R. Martin crap? I'm so sick of being called George R.R. Martin or Gaben. I get Gaben all the time. Okay, none of those guys rock video games the way I do. Leave me alone. They don't get Mikey from Insurgency screaming at them to run up the stairway. If you haven't seen that video, you got to go see it.
No, I haven't seen that.
Do a search for Insurgency Situational Awareness.
Okay.
And I did a stream with Mikey and them a little over a week ago. We did a video stream playing Insurgency for the first time. And you know me, I don't like first-person shooters.
Right.
This game in co-op mode is a lot of fun. In co-op mode, not in regular multiplayer mode. And there was this moment I had died and didn't know I had respawned.
Right.
What's with the angel? You didn't know. That doesn't work. Anyway, I didn't know I had respawned, and I was in the middle of talking to about 3 people and doing 4 things at once. And suddenly I'm dying, and Mikey is screaming my name over the comm system.
Right.
It's just a really funny video. It's a classic example of an epic fail on my part.
Oh my God! I'll go ahead and look that up. You know, but just going back down to the last 2 benchmarks here. We did go over the temperatures and fan speeds. I just had to test that, like I said. I mean, you know.
By the way,
go ahead.
Note for your listeners: the idle temperature. That's 0 fan speed, by the way.
That is correct, and
those
why
are shut off.
Yeah, and that's why it doesn't have the actual percentage down, because I assume that people would understand that I meant 0 because idle. Yes, this does have the 0 fan speed on it with the idle. Which, you know, believe it or not, everybody, it was Sapphire that was the first to come out with that. They did that on their 290X Vapor X, where it was 1 fan, correct, Ed? That you actually...
we had a smart switch that would turn off the 2 outside fans.
Okay.
And actually it was the 280 and the 270 Toxic were the first 2 that offered this.
Okay.
Where it turned off I believe. I could be wrong on that. Too many cards, too much time, not enough brain cells left. I'm old. But it turned off the 2 outside fans and just the middle fan would spin until a certain temperature load was reached.
And then, of course, last but not least, is the High Tech Legion website. And yes, everyone, I will go ahead and change
those numbers.
change that graph tonight. So now, the funny thing is I see everything backwards. Hopefully everybody else is not seeing these benchmarks backwards, because it's flipped on my screen, even though it doesn't appear to be flipped on Ed's. We talked about that earlier.
No, yeah, I can see it fine.
Okay. And of course, last but not least, let's go to, I think that was the last, that was the last, what do you call? But okay, Logan at Tech Syndicate, I rock this shirt better than you do. I'm just going to do a Hulk Hogan on it in a few. You son of a bitch, you did that on purpose because you knew it was coming to me, and then I would put it on.
You know what? Seriously, if he did that on purpose just to get to you, Paul, I personally think you should wear this shirt every video, because that's just brilliant. Okay? Give the guy credit. It's brilliant.
I don't know. I was like, okay, why is it Sapphire sending me a shirt? I've been asking for a Sapphire shirt for years, and I haven't gotten one, and now they're sending me a shirt.
Well, I'm a little pissed, because if Logan sent that shirt thinking it was for me, I know the size difference between me and you. That wouldn't fit me. Logan, what the hell? Where's my shirt?
Oh, shit, man. Yes, this is an adult show, everybody, even though it does say 13. But then again, you can watch TV, and that's another thing.
Peter, I turned 52 this month. 52.
That's all right.
Oh my God.
I turned 50 in November.
Uh-oh. There's the party.
You know what we need to do? We need to launch our own website that we review stuff at, and call it
Fart Gamers.
No, call it FOGS. FOGS. Fucking old guys.
There you go. There you go.
Oh God. I wonder how many 18 to 25-year-olds we'd get watching.
Well, the F-bomb in the front of it a lot.
Probably. All right. Well, let's.
Marge is here. 191X7 has proclaimed himself my stalker.
Ah.
Okay, and it's cool as long as he does it on the internet. Dude, you show up at my house, I've got a gun. Okay. Hey, Slug, welcome to it. You can join the Fogs. We're going to create our own group called Fogs. There you go. Hey, we got people interested in that. There you go.
We should. I mean, it would be great. Do a once-a-week show called Fogs.
We should. We could find some other guys our age that do this.
Oh, hell
there
yeah.
There are a few of us around.
Oh, yeah. And believe it or not, even the younger guys that were younger than us at one time are in their mid-40s now.
28 and an old gamer. You're not an old gamer. I've gamed longer than you've been alive. You're not an old gamer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
okay, you're 28, so we got to take, let's see, 10 years off of that, because you unless you started really young. I want to fog around with you. You see, yeah, old fart gamers though doesn't have the nice acronym.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. FOGS, FOGS, fucking old guys.
Gamers for geezers is nice.
Gamers for geezers.
we could the geriatric game squad.
we'll play like old Atari friggin' shit.
Instead of controllers, we've got walkers.
Yeah, exactly. That would be friggin' great.
Oh, 63 coffee foot. Thank God you're here. Oh, I feel young again.
Hey, well, there you go. He could be part of the crew. Be part of the Fogs.
we're gonna build this up. We're gonna create a YouTube channel just for fucking old gamers. We're too old. We're too old for sex anymore, so we play video games.
In our gaming chairs. Oh boy.
No. Don't get me started on gaming chairs. You know how I feel about that crap.
Oh, that reminds me. I got to talk to you about that later. Yeah, I did talk to believe it or not, everybody, we're going to be doing another review on a gaming chair by hey Peter, what the hell is the name of that?
ARP Gamers Guild. Awesome. That is awesome. We need to contact AARP. It needs to be part of the membership. I'll talk to Sapphire, see if we can get AARP discounts on video cards.
Yeah, there you go. Uh-oh, did I just mute my headset?
No, I heard you.
Oh, okay.
Missile Command. Oh, awesome game.
What was the name of that? There's a new shit. What's the name of that? Gamer Gear? What? Oh, Peter Rogala. What's the name of the new chair company that just came out? Yes, sir.
There's like a dozen of them.
No, it's a brand new chair company. If you remember.
Well, I know, but they're all doing the same damn chair.
No, this one has the one that has the wider wings.
Auto racer chair and make it a chair for people to sit in and charge 5 times the cost.
I like it.
They're not bad chairs. There's nothing wrong with them. I got the chair I'm in now is a $200 chair I got on sale at Office Depot.
Okay.
And it's rated for 450 pounds. I've had it for almost 3 years. Love this chair. Very, very comfortable. Sex in your gaming chair. I'll never tell.
I don't know. You know what the funny thing is I'm so old that my wife has to stand on her head because I can't get it up. I have to drop it in now.
But
oh my God. No, it's not in a rosy there, James. It's oh God darn it. What the heck is the name of that chair?
Well, it's not
I'm getting one to review. Oh God, Vertigear. That's it.
There you go. 191 said it. We need a gaming chair for grandpa gamers.
There you go.
It's got the lift assist for when you get out.
Oh, that leans forward to help you.
Yeah. It's got the lift assist for where you get out. It's got a wide, comfortable stance to it. It's even got motorized rollers for pushing back and pushing in, so you don't have to do it. Kind of like a mechanical, the automotive wheelchairs.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to do. I like this.
Well, maybe we could get it to have one of those. It's got a helmet that actually comes down above. Because when I game, I'm all over the place, and I banged my head on Irma, my test bench, quite a few times. Just
Dude, that's a serious lean over. No diaper pad, but maybe a built-in toilet. Colostomy bag holder. There we go. Having a little IV bar behind us, either for coffee or for a dialysis. I don't know.
Well, oh man. I don't know what to say, but yeah, this might be good. We gotta talk about this and get a few people, and this won't have anything to do with High Tech Legion or Sapphire or anything like that.
No, it's just a bunch of people hanging out having fun.
Yeah, we'll just call it Fogs, and we'll let all the 18 to 25ers watch us so we could curse and drink beer and burp.
Smoke cigars.
Smoke a couple cigars and do all that shit.
Oxygen tank. No, not the tank. You need the little. My mother's got one of these. It's a little device that's about that big, and it hooks to the back of her chair and it creates oxygen.
Oh, okay, that's a new one.
It's kind of like a rebreather type thing. basically concentrates the oxygen in the air.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, it's a really cool little device. A shit bucket for gaming veterans.
That will work. If I don't have, I could probably increase my my productivity while gaming if I didn't have to get up and pee every 33 minutes.
Yeah, that's the fault of water pills. Trust me, I know.
Shit.
First thing I learned with all the long road trips was you never take your water pill the morning of a road trip.
Gotcha.
Okay, I got on a 4-hour flight, and I'm glad I got a seat in the back.
So you were able to go pee every 2 minutes.
Yeah, I was able to get up and go pee constantly. Driving, first 12-hour road trip I took with a water pill, I'll never have a water pill again after that. Every 45 minutes, pull it off the road to pee. I had an extra hour and a half to the trip just to urinate.
Oh, God. Yeah, I know. That's what happens when you get old. You know, we got to start taking these things. Me, oh boy. I've got to take muscle relaxers and crap for my back and my shoulder and all that other crap. Luckily, right now, I mean, I haven't been able to go back and work out, but prior to me working out, I did have a little bit of hypertension, so I do not want to go back on hypertension medicine, because basically that's what it is the water pill. And I mean, with our aging prostates, we go to the bathroom enough as it is. We don't need that extra.
Yeah, we don't need the help. We don't need the help. Wake up 12 times in the middle of the night. That's why we don't have sex anymore. We just want a good night's sleep.
Don't have time for sex. I'm going to be up 14 times in the middle of the night, man.
Yeah, honey, nothing against you, baby. I love you. You look great. But no, I want to actually sleep for a little while. Then, of course, we get in trouble in the middle of the night when we can't sleep. We roll over and say, hey, honey, I'm ready now. She's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we have completely destroyed the rating of the show.
Well, like
for
I said,
all you children watching, go bed.
Yeah, go to bed now. This is your father speaking to you.
Time for the adults to play.
Well, you know, that's the funny thing too. I think a lot of times, especially with my channel, I think a lot of the younger guys feel intimidated by me because I look like I'm their dad. I'm not that, you know, the friend that they could watch.
I'm the old creepy uncle, I figure.
I don't know.
Okay. I can be the old creepy uncle. Uncles are cool. Uncles get away with stuff.
Yeah,
my nieces love me. My nieces think I'm awesome because I do all sorts of stuff that their dad will never let them do. Then I get yelled at by dad and they don't.
You do it on purpose just to bother Dad.
David sometimes, no. David sometimes will do stuff wrong and blame it on me. And Jeff will come scream and yell at me and about how, I can't believe you talked. And okay, Jeff, I'm sorry, Jeff. I'm sorry. Then I'll get him on the phone later and go, what the hell? And sorry, Uncle Eddie. Okay.
Well, I've got 2 nieces. I don't have any nephews, and I probably won't ever have any nephews. My brother's done having kids, and so am I. My boy's 26, so you know, I would love for him to take over the channel, and you know, because he is that age, and he'd probably be, you know, a little bit more appealing towards the younger crowd. But you know, it's really funny when I look at it. I look at our stats. Our average watchers, the people who actually watch our channel, average in age from 35 to 55. That's right. Our core. And, you know, when you really look at it, I know a lot of you younger guys do have jobs and you buy your own stuff, but most people up to 25 are still either in college or living at home with their parents. And you guys are not the primary buyers maybe of things all the time. And I just wanted you guys to know that just because we might be a little bit older and do things a little bit differently here, we're trying to assist you guys in purchasing a product, and I know I'm plugging High Tech Legion now, Ed, I'm sorry.
It's your show.
We're trying to help you guys get an idea on how to make a wise purchase. That's why we're reviewing the stuff. I mean, do you want to see me do a Superman flyover or something like that? You know, I know a lot of guys do the cinematography. Yeah, it's kind of nice, and they do their cinematography. They do this, but really, everyone who might be of that age, can you really purchase a product based on 3 benchmarks and really not much testing? I don't know. Me personally, I don't think I could do it. And we've got a couple, believe it or not, Ed, there's a couple guys in here that I've actually spoken with who have said to me that they do watch a lot of these other guys, but when they want to make a purchase, they come and see me, which is kind of odd.
The truth is you should trust no one review site. Even High Tech Legion, I'm sorry. You don't ever trust a single review site. You find 3 or 4, and you try to get 3 or 4 with different styles so that you can get that real mix of what is being looked at. You can, as much as reviewers, and I am one, as much as we reviewers want to believe we're 100% unbiased, it doesn't exist. There's always a bias. There's always something that's going to influence the decision. And if you get 3 or 4 sites, that tends to help you get away from that, especially when you understand you don't take the 3 or 4 as each one is gospel. You kind of blend them together and average it out. That to me is the best way, is find 3 or 4 trusted sites, 3 or 4 people whose reviews you like the style of, you like the content of, you believe give you the information you need. Balance them out. That's where you're going to get your best information.
Well, I'll agree as a consumer, as somebody who has a YouTube channel, just watch High Tech Legion. We'll take care of it. As a consumer, I have to agree 100%. You're not going to get everything out of just one channel.
I'm going to get off of here. I want to go play some video games before I go to bed tonight.
All right. Well,
I'm an old man. I got to go to bed soon.
I got a benchmark. I got actually flash BIOS on a motherboard that I can't mention until Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock.
Good luck with that.
I didn't say anything. I just said I can't mention it till 8 o'clock Monday morning. Wednesday morning. I'm sorry. But everybody, here you go. Let's take one final look at the Sapphire R9 Fury with Tri-X cooling. Again, it is a little bit larger, which I did mention in the review, so make sure that you have a larger case in order to fit it in there. It's got a very nice back plate on it. And one thing that I didn't show you before is that it does require 2 8-pin power connectors.
Right.
And we've got 1, 2, 3 DVIs and 1 HDMI on there, which is nice because technically I don't. Well, my monitors now don't have, even my test rig monitor doesn't even have HDMI. It's DVI now. So
yeah, it's either DVI or DisplayPort for me from now on.
Not DVI. I mean DisplayPort. I'm sorry. What am I saying? DVI. I meant DisplayPort. You know, well, you guys hopefully. I'm sorry for saying DVI. I meant DisplayPort.
If you're buying this level of card, you should have a DisplayPort monitor.
I agree with you.
Because you're either going to be running 4K or ridiculous refresh rates.
They want to know why the 8-pin power connectors are in the middle.
It's a short PCB. They're at the end of the PCB.
Yeah, exactly there, James. You probably missed that part, but here, I'll show you again. The PCB ends here. You have the extra 90 or 100 millimeters here.
But by the way, Paul, I want to point this out. The little black frame you guys see there at the back of that cooler, that's metal. That's not plastic. This does not flex.
Correct. It is metal. I don't know if you could hear that, but it makes a tinging sound. So it is metal, but yes. So James, to answer that question, here's where the PCB ends. Here's your sign. I want to thank everybody for coming. I also want to thank you, Ed. The problem is we could just go off on too many damn tangents when we get together. So,
oh yeah, we haven't even started on Windows 10 yet.
oh boy, no, that'll be for a fog show. I think that'll work great for a fog show. We can start. So we'll go ahead and end everything. Thank you everybody for showing up. Make sure you keep an eye out. We got some. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen with this upcoming launch here on Wednesday. It's probably going to be at first the written reviews, and then later on in the week I will have the videos up. I know a lot of you are anticipating this upcoming launch. I do have 3 items that we'll be reviewing for that launch. So thanks a lot. Thank you, Ed. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Paul. It was great to see you guys again. Talk to you later.
All right. Stay thirsty, my friends. Bye-bye.